Good morning and welcome to my show. I'm your host, Danny Graham, and I both invite and encourage you to walk with me on the road to wisdom. Come on, y'all. Let's walk. Hello, and welcome to the 232nd episode of my show, The Road to Wisdom. Thank you for joining me. As you can see today, the bottom here, name of the topic is Who is the true master of deception? Who is the true master of deception? Now, spiritually, the master of deception is Lucifer, the deceiver, Satan. But guess what? Sometimes he manifests himself in the real world, in this world we live in now, in this society that we live in now. And tomorrow, Tuesday, November the 5th, is going to be one of the most important days in history because you're going to have a chance to vote for either the first female president or a past president that some people like and love, or some people think is a total mistake. I can't sit here and tell you who to vote for, but all I can do is tell you that in the Bible, God talks about honoring people in certain positions. He talks about the government. I know sometimes people like to say state religion shouldn't join, but guess what? It's referred to and talked about in the Bible all throughout the Bible. I can tell you deception. There's a lot of it going around. There's a lot of ads out there. There's a lot of AI. There's a lot of people that have very strong opinions on one particular candidate. Some people have very strong opinions on the other particular candidate. And there's a lot of information out there to try to to pick apart, try to find out what's really true, what's really fake. But there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of people that because their parents, their friends, their associates, whatever, voted one for one particular party, they're going to do that. I'm going to ask each and every one of you that plan on voting and who has not voted yet, don't vote on a party just because your friends vote on that person or your family vote on that person or you're hearing things um, that you think but don't know for certain that that party stands for. You need to ask one person and one person on that is God. That's what I want you to do tonight, Monday night, if you plan on voting tomorrow. Before you lay your head down and go to bed, I want you to pray. Pray to God. I want you to ask God for three things. Ask God first for discernment. Ask God for you to have focus. And ask God to give you certainty and guidance whenever you're going to vote. You wake up tomorrow, if you're going to do it first thing in the morning, I want you, when you get in your car, you pray. God, give me certainty, give me guidance, give me focus, give me discernment. When you get to the polls, I want you to pray another prayer. Lord, give me discernment, give me focus, give me guidance and certainty. And before you push those buttons to vote one for one party or other, you ask for God, please, God, guide my heart, guide my mind, guide my thoughts, my actions. And please let this person that I vote for be the person that your will, that you're going to put your hands on, that you're going to either strengthen or either remove if this person does not follow your will. That's what we're going to worry about. Now, yesterday in church, my pastor was saying that, and some people are saying that, and I've seen a lot of sermons that say this, that both candidates really aren't what people want. Definitely, both candidates aren't what Christians want. But what you do is you compare their platforms, and you get this Bible, and the one that's most closest lined up to the Bible. If you're a Christian, then that is my strong belief is who you should vote for. Now, all throughout the Bible, there are bad leaders that lead good people. And the Bible talks about it that if there's a bad leader, that the people will cry out. A lot of times, there are bad leaders, but God put those bad leaders in place to teach and to test the good people. And once they relied on Him, once they prayed on Him and called Him, then He removed that bad leader and replaced with a good leader. There are a lot of times in the Bible where God put somebody there and they start off doing a good job and they sound like they're going to do a good job. They do fantastic. But once they get in there and they get comfortable and they start doing things that they want to do instead of what things that are pleasing to God, and they become they fall from one time they once good leader to a very poor leader. We see that all throughout the Bible. You see it in Solomon. We see it in Saul. See it in David. They start off as good leaders, but then they got, I don't know whether they start feeling themselves, but they start having distractions. They start having things that was not godlike, and they fail. They fail. But then a lot of times we see people that start off that are bad, but are changed. Um, if you want to go back to biblical times, Moses was a murderer. He murdered a Egyptian. But guess what? God used him, and in my opinion, and from what I can read from the Bible, Moses probably was one of the most influential people ever. He had a relationship with God. I think he was actually considered and is referred to. It's inferred that him and God were friends. They spoke like friends. So God could do anything. God could take one candidate that seems to be the wrong person, the wrong fit, has the wrong mentality. Once they get in office, God can change that individual. God could remove that individual and put somebody there that's already in the party that could step right in and do God's will. At the same time, God has also let people that you think are good and the people that are bad, and He's put them in places of power for His wisdom to move along his uh His plan. And then when that person has run its course, then God removes them. So we don't know who's the true master of deception. We hear all these ads, you see all these news reports, we see all these things, all this dirt that's being dug up, seen way after the fact when it should have been investigated and vetted way before the fact. Where we see a lot of stuff that's being dug up now. We don't know whether or not it's really authentic or whether or not it's something that's being fabricated. But I'm asking you for certainty. Pray for certainty. Pray for discernment and pray for focus. We can't let things that we see in society. We can't let our friends influence us. We can't let anybody influence us except God. Before you step into that booth, before you go to sleep tonight, you make sure you pray. You ask God, if you haven't voted already, to give you the person to vote for, and God's going to do it. There's no doubt in my mind. But you have to ask Him. This is one of the most important elections I've ever seen since I've been voting and have been an adult. So let's please make sure that we take the I out of it and put the God into it. Let's make sure we do that. I want to read to you from the book of Proverbs, the 7th chapter to the 23rd verse. The book of Proverbs, the 7th chapter to the 23rd verse. It really, in my opinion, speaks on this. Proverbs 12th chapter, 7th to the 23rd verse. It reads as follows: The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be condemned according to his wisdom, but he that is of perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread. He that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desire the net of evil men, but the rule of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hand shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearketh unto counsel is wise. A fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh truth sheweth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is what speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. So to me, I want to focus on verse 19. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. So when I read that, it makes me think no matter what candidate is lying or saying what we want to hear, it's only going to be for a moment. We can't think that, and I know a lot of people say, well, next 4 years is going to be this, is going to be that. If we go in there of one heart, one mind, one thought of asking God, which is the best candidate to put in this office, God is going to tell us what we should do, and we're going to be okay. I believe that 100%. But if we go in there because we're influenced by society, by these ads, by our family, by our friends, by our co-workers, by anything else but God, then we can mess it up and get it wrong. There's no doubt. Just because someone is the same demographic as me doesn't mean that I have to always vote for them, or I am going to vote for them. And there's some people that will call me a fool because I think like that. That's your prerogative. Now, the other party, not too fond of that individual either. Neither one of them aren't my favorites. And the lesser two evils is getting old for as a office of this high position. So when things are getting old and redundant and not being the way that they should be, then my only recourse as a Christian is to fall back on God and ask Him for His leadership, His guidance, His discernment. And He will let me know who is the true master of deception, and I will vote against that individual. Like I said, what I'm going to do is Monday night before I go to sleep, I'm going to pray. When I get in my truck and drive to the polls, I'm going to pray. And before I push that button, I'm going to pray a third time and ask God for discernment, for focus, and for certainty and guidance on who the candidate I should choose to be the next president of the United States. That's all that I can do. That's all that I can do. And then put my faith in God and hand it off to God. And then God's going to do His will. Whether Ms. Harris goes in there or Mr. Trump goes in there, God is going to do His will. They can't overpower that. We have to remember that. But that's just my 2 cents on who is the true master of deception. Right now, it's hard to say. It is hard to say because you hear so many commercials. You hear so many news articles. You hear so many media personalities saying this, saying that. And it's hard. It's hard to discern. But you have to pray for discernment. And I think God would give that to you. Before I got up here, I want to talk about a quote that I saw. And I really thought it was fitting for this particular topic. And the quote is as follows. You may be deceived if you trust too much, but you will live in torment if you don't trust enough. Let me say that one more time. That's very powerful. You may be deceived if you trust too much, especially in the wrong thing, but you will live in torment if you don't trust enough in the right thing. And the right thing is God. So make sure that you trust enough in the right thing and don't worry about this wrong stuff or this popular stuff or this thing that society is trying to get us to vote one way or the other. You vote the way that God leads you to and tells you to vote, and everything else is going to be okay. That's just my 2 cents on that. I hope you definitely, this resonates with you. And like I said, please pray, and ask God to give you direction in what you need to do. So until Friday, you have a fantastic week. Thank you, and God bless you.
Danny Graham, he speaks so clear. Love thy neighbor, hold them dear. Bible wisdom every day. God's own path, the only way. On the road to wisdom bright. Follow God through darkest night. Bible's words are guiding light. Marching forward with His might. Hear the stories from above. Jesus' power, pure His love. Trust in Him no matter fall. Grace is here for one and all. Oh, with His might. On the road to wisdom bright. Follow God through darkest night. Bible's words are guiding light. Marching forward with His might.